Would you ever like compete in something different, like fitness wise?
His total test was like 55 and his free test was like 0.
If you had to pick like 4 peptides to like be on and only 4, what would they be?
And I want to get back to being more explosive, being able to run, being able to jump.
You got to tell them about Dubai.
Oh, God.
Welcome back to the Health Shift. I'm Dom Kuza here with Dr. Pat Nolan and our 2 esteemed guests. If you'd like to introduce yourself if people don't know who you are.
My name is Chris Bumstead.
What is the podcast about today, Mr. Kuza?
We are here to talk about Chris's transition out of bodybuilding. What kind of like, because I know you've done like some injury therapies, things like that to kind of get you healed up after all the bodybuilding. And we just wanted to talk to you about that and kind of like just life after retirement.
Yeah. Where do you want to start?
We should talk about how every year I get a text message about 6 weeks before the Olympia that you tore something in Canada. That's how we should start.
It's only been twice in Canada, but
well, you know what I mean.
Something torn every year. Yeah.
So what do you, because I saw some videos now, you're doing a lot, like Justin's like kind of changed your training now. Like what are you trying to focus on now mostly?
Yeah, so specifically into training, Justin's been helping me with that because I was an athlete when I was younger and I pretty much detrained my body to be able to explode and like move fast essentially. All my fast twitch fibers are kind of like meant to just move in a specific range of plane of motion. And linear in a machine, controlled contraction, and I want to get back to being more explosive, being able to run, being able to jump, but also maintaining a lot of muscle.
Yeah.
So pretty much he told me I have to take like at least 3 months, probably a little bit longer, and continue of just specific rebuilding my tendons, my joints, and everything to be able to handle that. So my training right now is really boring. It's pretty much like a lot of isometric holds, some stretches, weird ranges of motion, specific legging body parts. Like he came down and he did a full test on my body to see what was weak, and pretty much like my hamstrings are really weak, my hips have no rotation, my traps are really weak, I have like bad posture because my chest is really tight. So being able to open up my posture correctly, open up my hips, strengthen the tendons to be able to handle like an explosive load rather than just a controlled eccentric. Little things like that is the goal right now. And then in the future, hopefully I can still train like a bodybuilder for like a couple of days a week to maintain X amount of muscle mass, but also be able to run and jump and feel better and more athletic.
No, of course. Is there like an end goal? Like, would you ever like compete in something different, like fitness wise?
I mean,
I don't see you getting on a bike and like doing like a triathlon, but
I don't know. I keep saying never. People like never say never. Maybe when I'm like 50, and I'm like, all right, all I care about is health, and I want to be skinny. Then I'll do it, but I don't want to be skinny yet. So, Dom's lost like 40 pounds in the last year, and he's happy about it. But if I lost 40 pounds in the year, I'd be like, all right.
I'm 50 pounds lighter than I was last time I was here last year.
Yeah, I'm 47 pounds lighter.
It's crazy.
I feel great though.
Yeah, I look at pictures of your face before, and your head was a balloon, and I feel like I'll feel like that when I lose weight eventually too. But
I actually like look at photos, and I'm just like, wow. Like
Yeah.
I thought that was a good look at one point in my life. I mean, but at what point? Because I think there was a really big shift in the way you trained, and also recovered, and also took care of yourself at some point. And knowing you from, I think we met when it was like your second Olympia. Probably right after your second Olympia. Like I started seeing you taking recovery and starting to implement some peptides and really like stem cell things like that. Probably 3 years ago, maybe 3 years ago.
No, I've been doing peptides and that
But
kind
like,
of stuff for like 6, 7
But I'm
years,
talking about like actually planned. Perfect.
Oh, not getting out of someone's bathtub and stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yes, and also like just like getting the right guidance to use them properly.
Yeah.
It was like your brother-in-law at one point was like, do this, do that. But like when you had like a protocol of do this at this time, make sure you're getting this, and I feel like that was pretty recent.
Yeah, that was in the last 3 years. That was essentially since working with you and Revive.
And like,
or Relive now.
What was the reason? Were you just like, if I'm gonna beat the shit out of my body this way, I'm going to make sure I take care of it this way? Is that kind of the thought process?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a constant evolution. I think when I started my career at the very beginning, in 2018, I got really sick. And that was when I was young, I was in college, I drank 3 times a week, and then I'd have 3 months of the year where I just trained like a bodybuilder. And I was eating like Wendy's, McDonald's, getting in calories, not giving a fuck about my health. And then I got really sick in 2018, and I was like, all right, it doesn't just matter how I look and I'm not gonna be able to sustain this forever anyways. It matters how I feel, what's going on internally, like the longevity of my body. So that's when I started eating really healthy, at least, and that was my first change of like focusing on whole foods and not just in prep eating healthy, but all year long. Like my off season, the goal wasn't just to get calories in; it was getting healthy food in, because the inflammation that was causing my joints were leading to more injuries. My recovery was better, my sleep was better, everything was affected by it, and that was like the first step where I realized how much better I could feel. And from then, I kept trying to like learn new ways, and that's where there was a guy in our town who his wife was like a molecular biologist and all these things, and she was making peptides, and that's when I started taking peptides. But again, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing with them. I wasn't doing blood work properly. I was just like, this is supposed to reduce inflammation and heal injuries, I'm going to take it. My knees hurt, put it in my knee. My shoulder hurts, put it in my shoulder. And it helped. But there's also a lot more efficient way to do that. And then when I came down here and lived down here and I also lived in Canada. So having access to a place where I could just go get blood work and talk to a doctor and not have to wait 6 months to get the stuff done, and only allowed 8 panels on my blood work that they pick that aren't my choice. Like that was a shit show in Canada.
It's crazy getting blood work in Canada.
It's hard.
I think it's crazy doing anything in Canada when it comes to medicine.
Once you get the blood work and there's something wrong, you're like, well, like just take this pill and we'll see if it helps. But
we have
like,
patients down here that are like part-time and they're Canadian like residents, but they come down here and do a bulk of their healthcare down here. How long ago did you start doing like the detailed labs and all that? Was it like last few years or 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, since the last 4 years probably, since I had access to it coming down here, really. I think the first time I ever came down was in 2019.
It was 2019.
For the opening of the gym.
Yeah.
And that's when I really like opened my eyes to how much easier it is down here, or at least with Revive.
Remember the first thing you said was like, can my dad come here?
Yeah, literally. And like if people in Canada are lucky enough to have the funds to be able to travel and come down and get stuff down here, then great. But a lot of people can't do that, so it's tough. But in the last 4 years when I really made that shift, and when I was actually be able to communicate with, like, I've worked with a couple doctors over the years and discovering things. And the big thing for me is I have an autoimmune disease, so it was constantly like gut health and keeping inflammation down. Not too much stress, make sure my digestion's on point, and make sure I'm not like doing any heavily inflammatory things.
Did you always have the autoimmune disease, or did you like did it get triggered and activated, or?
I mean, I don't think anyone has the answer really if you're born with it or not. Essentially, or they know.
Well, like no, I'm saying like when did it like finally become a problem?
So it flared up really bad in 2016 when I was in college.
Okay.
And I had no idea what was going on. I was very unhealthy. I was, living the party lifestyle, doing a bunch of shit. And something flared up, put me in the hospital for like a week. I was bedridden for a couple months, like horrible. And then they had no idea what the problem was. I did a bunch of testing, blood work, all this stuff, and they had no idea what happened. And then in 2018, like I was talking about before, I was back in the hospital for something very similar happening to me. And then they finally did a kidney biopsy on me. And what they pulled from that was they saw I had IgA nephropathy, which is like a autoimmune disease that causes like a blockage in the kidneys and inflammation and messes them all up. So that was 2 flare-ups that I've had. And since then I can test by the inflammation on my shins usually, like if something's coming on, my body's stressed up. And so I used to have like an anxious habit where I would just sit there and do this, because if they were swollen, I'd be like, fuck.
Pitting edema?
Yeah.
Pitting edema, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
So that would always stress me out. And I started to realize there was a big correlation between my physical health and my mental health. And oftentimes when I wasn't in a great mental place, it would lead to me doing less things physically healthy, and it would stack on top of each other. And the stress on my body would lead to a potential autoimmune response. But luckily, I've only had 2 major flare-ups where it was like really bad, where I was put in the hospital, put on prednisone, and like really had to just knock it out. But since then, that's why it's such a conscious effort for me to focus on my health now, and doing the blood work, watching the inflammation markers. And I know my body very well now, especially the bodybuilder. You're so meticulous in what you put in your body. You're such a routine that if something's off, you feel a change in your body, you know what causes it, which I think is a huge blessing bodybuilding has given me. But it's been a journey. I
mean, to be fair, I think that not only in Canada, but how many things do we catch in patients on our blood work that they don't get caught in their primary care?
Yeah.
All the time.
Like I remember when I used to work in my first office, I would see stuff on blood work and be like, oh, fuck. Like go straight into the nurse practitioner's room or the doctor's room and be like, hey, and they're like, refer out, straight to the emergency room. So it's crazy. Even in the US, it's much cheaper to run a CBC and a CMP than it is to run the panels we run at Relive. So, when you're not testing on certain specific markers, you don't see it.
Yeah, Relive Stewart, I'll never forget. It was like 2 to 3 years ago. I call him a kid. He was probably like 22, 23, came in and his triglycerides were like 1,600, which is like critical.
Yep.
So they sent him right over to the ER to get treated and stuff. And that's probably like a
we've
genetic
caught
disorder.
so many cancers
But the labs are so comprehensive. I mean, you catch stuff like iron deficiency, subtle kidney stuff, liver stuff.
Yeah.
Hormone.
I found a pituitary tumor once.
Oh, we see that. I just caught a guy, military vet, middle-aged guy, came in. The VA is like, not. It's a joke.
The worst healthcare in America.
It's terrible.
For the military, it's
It's
horrible.
nuts. So he came in. He had every symptom, every single like cliche symptom. We checked his full, including a prolactin. His prolactin was 170. Weight gain, obesity, no sex drive, no energy, lost his muscle, poor cognitive function, like no clarity. His test was like 55, and his total test was like 55, and his free test was like 0.
Wow.
And I'm like, does the VA know about this? Like, do they check like comprehensive labs on you? No, they just check like a CBC, a CMP, and like my cholesterol. And I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna have you see an endocrinologist here.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like trash healthcare. Like nobody listened to this guy. They were just running cookie cutter labs on him, and then it's like whatever. But I mean, yeah, down here, just being able to have access to labs and imaging if we need it, stuff like that.
What I always like go back to the saying, like, and I know like we all really, besides you, Pat, come from like kind of like a bodybuilding background before we came into like this type of medicine. And I always feel like for some, I don't know how to say this like without sounding like an idiot, but like sometimes the bodybuilding community is a little bit ahead of the medical community when it comes to like peptides and things, because they just research them way faster than they become faster than they become approved by the government or the FDA, you know? So like, for example, like TB500 and BPC 157, those things have been like, that was probably what you were getting.
It was exactly what I took. Yeah.
And you know, like now that they're legal, are they back now? Or they're about to be back?
I think
They're
Thymosin,
like up in the air.
Thymosin alpha. There's a handful like AOD,
Yeah. So for
CJC,
example, like those two
Thymosin.
peptides, they're incredible. Like for recovery, for all of those things. And for so long you couldn't get them, but they were on the black market first. And now that they got introduced to, you know, I guess you would consider it like real medicine, and they, you know, at Relive and all these places, like the benefits of those peptides are absolutely amazing. So like what were your favorite ones? I know you said those were your first two, but what is like your favorite? I know there's so many now.
Yeah, I mean the 4 that I took back then, and I still, well, 3 main ones, but there was a 4th with BPC, TB500, Thymosin Alpha-1, and epithalon.
Yeah. What's the epithelium do?
It's supposed to lengthen your telomeres.
Supposed to.
Yeah, it's supposed to.
Is there any research like actually proving that yet?
Not like huge trials yet.
Because technically,
That's
like,
the problem with peptides.
well, from what I understand, the only one that truly lengthens telomeres is follistatin, like real follistatin. Is that true?
Yeah.
I think that's coming
Like
too.
documented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not legal in America yet, but like Dr. Khan, for example, out of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can get it.
Yeah.
And afford it.
Yeah. It's super expensive, but
And then you take thymosin alpha-1 probably because of your autoimmune.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, so this guy who was, his wife was very intelligent. She was a doctor, but she stopped and started making it herself. She was like, you have autoimmune, you have to take this. And I had no idea what the fuck it was. But now all this research has come out since then, and it's like very common. They're like, oh, you have autoimmune, here, you should take this, helps regulate your immune system. Like,
wasn't that something like around COVID where that people were taking it and then they
Yeah.
got like really scared about, like they were trying to say it was bad and not to take it?
And it was like helping them.
Everybody.
Like, yeah.
Everyone who
Yeah.
got it was taking it and it was helping them.
It like preps, like I tell people like it preps your immune system for like a bad day. Like you're not going to have that bad of a day if it comes down, because the way it works is it helps with like immune modulation. So like for example, like it's keeping his immune system in this not over aggressive state. And that's what autoimmunes are. They just have this over attack
Just attacking yourself.
So I think it's a great peptide.
If you had to pick like 4 peptides religiously to like be on, and only 4, what would they be?
I would say BPC.
Do you have to have BPC with TB?
No. I would say BPC. I'd say probably thymosin alpha-1. I'm a big fan of 5-amino 1-MQ.
That's what my wife's on, right?
Yep. And then
what does that do?
that one helps with it helps with a few things. It could keep like your NAD levels a little bit more elevated. Helps like inhibit an enzyme that breaks that down. It's really good for like glucose metabolism, fat oxidation. It was like designed kind of for like anti-obesity like research.
It's a pill, right?
Yeah, it's a pill. It's not an injection, which is also nice.
Yeah.
And I think my fourth would probably be, I like dihexa a lot. Dihexa or Slenac. I like Slenac a lot too.
And what are those?
Those
for?
are like cognitive ones.
I'll tell you what, Joey has been on a new peptide stack for like the last, I don't know if this is good or not. I'm just going to throw it in here. But, I mean, his endurance is absolutely insane.
Really?
Like he's running 630 miles with me.
Really?
Yeah. He did it this morning.
Wow.
He's on testosterone troches.
Oh, okay.
So he's doing 2.5 milligrams twice a day. So one in the morning, one in the afternoon, dissolvable. He's doing NAD troches. He's doing liposomal glutathione. And that's it. That's all he's taking.
And he just is a machine
And
right now.
I have not seen, I mean, it's,
I mean, he's also a machine. To begin
He
with.
also is a freak.
but like to be fair, like I've been running with him now for probably 2 months doing these workouts.
And it just,
And like, it's impressive. The
I wouldn't even
difference.
That's
think
a
any of
quick
those would
pace.
affect it that much.
He said it's the NAD. He said he's so fucking hyper focused. He said he's like that limitless pill. And I have the injection and I don't like it. Like I just, first of all, I get that flush, like
Yeah.
really weird reaction when I
heat
take
feeling,
it, you
yeah.
know, like almost like drops you to your knees type shit. But he's like, he was doing that. And he said that the liposomal is like substantially better and it's once a day.
Is NAD hard on your liver?
I don't,
Not that I've seen.
Not
No.
that
Not
I've
that I've
seen.
seen.
Not that
You
I've
said
seen. It's
that
pretty
to me.
tolerated.
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, but I haven't seen, like my markers are awesome.
It's probably pretty dose dependent.
The testosterone troche must be difficult on your liver, though, I would assume.
Well, testosterone orally is not, I don't think it's 17 alpha alkylated, so it's not going to be resistant to like
Really?
first pass metabolism in your liver.
'Cause that was
like
the only reason I didn't wanna take it.
Andriol was like the first like oral testosterone that came out. And the problem was it wasn't 17 alpha alkylated, so like you had to take it multiple times a day to keep levels steady throughout the day. And that was like a big reason why it never really made circulation.
Yeah.
Like injections just made more sense.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, I would rather take 2 pills a day than take 1 shot a week. I know that sounds crazy. I just hate taking shots.
It does suck, but I'll do anything to bypass my liver.
Yeah, I get it. But if it doesn't affect your liver, I would be interested to try it.
Yeah, it probably is very minuscule. Like it has to be methylated to in order to take
Yeah.
it like orally. So it probably has like a tiny bit of liver stress,
Yeah.
but not like what like oxandrolone would do.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's just fascinating. And then what about for you, and this is something that I would be interested to know, from what I understand, the best way to ingest anything is by inhaling it. Is that true? Because the receptors inside your lungs are like the strongest receptors in the body.
I'd say inhalants, and I think intranasals.
Intranasal too.
Well, that would be similar, right?
Yeah,
It goes
similar.
to the same
Yeah.
thing. So nasal, I would say, and inhaling would go with the same pathway.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Snorting peptides or
No, but they make they make a inhaler for glutathione that
Really?
you inhale it and it
The
goes into your
Slenac I
lungs.
take is intranasal.
Yes.
C-Max. Select.
Yeah,
Yep.
so
C-Max too. Yeah.
so that's like a new thing. And there's PT141,
Yeah.
which is the sexual wellness,
Yeah.
is a nasal spray as well. So like that, and I didn't know that until recently, but like that is research backed the best way to take anything, more than IM, more than sub Q. It's pretty wild.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then in my opinion, would it go that and then probably sub Q before IM, right?
I think
For
that depends
half-life?
on like fat tissue of the person.
'Cause-
So kind of both.
What, like which way? Like
I'd say
if you're too fat,
if you were fatter,
then
or
no.
probably not.
But leaner,
Because you
yes.
want to get it like intradermal, like not just in fat.
Yeah.
You want to get it like in the layer of skin. So I'd say like if you were leaner, you probably could get away with like really successful sub Qs.
Well, I take my testosterone subcutaneously, and I like it a lot better. My estrogen
Yeah.
stays very normal too. I don't get that like crazy spike in my estrogen levels from taking
yeah,
it that way.
that's a big reason why people take testosterone sub Q.
Yeah. I've noticed a drastic, I don't take an anti-estrogen. I don't like anti-estrogens. So like that was one of the big reasons, but I also don't take a lot of testosterone. So
Yeah.
if you're taking a cc a week, it'd be a much different story. I take 0.2 cc's a week. So it's easy to take subcutaneously. I
Yeah.
don't even get like a bump or anything from it, you know? And then from there, would you say liposomal?
Yeah, liposomal technology is really good. That's a nice way to get like glutathione, for example, is like terrible just by
It just
itself.
hurts, dude. When you
Yeah.
inject it.
Well, like orally, like if
oh
you
yeah,
just bought
shit.
it.
Yeah, shit.
But liposomal
It's great.
glutathione, you can actually get some good absorption.
Yeah, but like
orally.
I can't. The injection is so painful.
Yeah, it's
It's
really
a lot.
it-
Yeah.
and it
I
smells
know you
like
do
gas.
it, but I can't do it.
It smells like gas.
I've never smelt it.
Oh yeah, it's nasty. I can't do it. I've attempted to do that, and I get the. I mean, again, I'm also 100% a pussy when it comes to doing injections. So, like, that's part of
I
it.
do it sub Q.
Sub Q.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I was like half inch, like so technically not with how lean I am probably, but
Half inch. That's IM.
put it right here.
Dude, you're
That's
going into
IM.
muscle for sure.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was a little insulin.
Yeah. And what do you backfill it?
Yeah.
And it doesn't clog or anything?
That's how I do my tests.
I do my test that way too. Yeah.
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
backfill it. And
I'm
just
trying to
put it in my shoulder.
convince our pharmacy to do preloaded syringes for testosterone.
That for peptides would be incredible.
Yeah.
Because if you have like 8 peptides, you don't want to. If
Yeah.
you could put them all into one syringe and just be like, all right, shoot this every morning.
Yeah.
I would pay double for that.
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah. I think
Blends are getting more popular.
yes, and I do believe that there
Yeah.
are some pharmacies that would do that for like obviously a higher cost. We could probably call that in and they would do it because I know we used to work with a pharmacy that would do that,
Really?
and they had like a little tray they would put the needles in.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is you got to make sure you don't pull them out because you put them in the fridge and you're taking 3, you don't know which is which. You kind of fuck yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
And then you've done some stem cell therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Pat's a really good expert on stem cells. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you got done?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've done it out of the country predominantly. I've done a lot at Relive too.
Yeah.
But I think the dosage of the amount you're allowed to do is a lot lower.
It's different. It's the expand.
They
We're not allowed to use
expand.
expanded
culture
cells.
and expanded cells are
Yeah.
outside the U.S.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's super common in like Colombia, Panama,
Well, you
Mexico,
did the
things like
expanded
that. Culture and expanded.
with Dr. Khan multiple times.
Yeah.
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 Mexico, yeah.
And then the craziest one was Dubai, dude. You got to tell them about Dubai.
Oh God.
That shit was crazy.
Yeah. So that was my renal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did a like 400 million expanded stem cells straight into my renal artery. Like in
They
the
didn't-
Oh, you
the
told
story
me that
they-
in Vegas.
Dude, it was crazy.
You guys did it at a hospital? or
I went to Dubai, got off the plane, landed, went to the hospital, and just like went into a room, and they're like, "All right," like, and I had no idea what I was doing. I thought it was just like an IV, you know, they'll just stick it in, you're good to go. And they're like, "No, we got to put you under. If you move at all, like you're fucked." Like I'm like, "Wait, I had no idea." Like I'm in a Dubai hospital, half the people don't speak English.
Well, he also
I'm
is like,
"All right,"
I'll be done in like 2.5, 3 hours. So like, I'll call you.
I
When
thought
I'm
it'd be
done.
1 hour. Yeah.
So like, I think 6 hours go by, and it's like me, his sister, and her husband, and we're like, "Is Chris alive? Like, what the fuck is going on?" And then you got done at like 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, because I couldn't leave, obviously, because
Yeah.
they sedated me. So
Yeah.
then they had to like let me properly wake up and get back to it and everything. But it was intense.
And you were limped for like
I was
2
limp
weeks.
for about 5 days.
Was it?
Yeah.
You had like, didn't you have like a little like slight like pain though for a while, and you had like a gnarly bruise?
Yeah. They were like telling me like if you start to see like that bruise grow, like you get back to the hospital right now. And I'm like I had no idea what I was getting into. But like my EGFR was like 120.
Yeah.
A month
Actually,
after that
yeah.
or something.
I
Like,
remember that.
Has
that
it
was like,
stayed up?
well, it came back down in prep,
Okay.
and now it's coming back up again. But I couldn't tell if it was acute because I would dehydrate myself
Yeah,
so
yeah,
heavily.
yeah.
I literally dehydrated myself for like 4 days because I did a 2-day show and then got blood work done afterwards, and it was down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's probably just situational.
yeah. So but it definitely stayed throughout that year a lot better.
That's awesome.
So it was pretty crazy. Yeah.
That's pretty
That was
crazy.
the most extreme situation I've
Like
done.
he had such a low EGFR because of your autoimmune.
Yeah.
And then to hear that you were at a 120, like
I
that's
remember-
insane.
I remember like after we
Supercharged.
got back, we were like, I hope that shit like worked because it sucked or whatever. And
Yeah.
then he got his blood work, and we were like, holy shit, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And you've done some of the IV drips that Dr. Pat does, I think.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I've done
done some
the
IV.
expanded twice out of the country with like 400 million cells or so, and then that I started doing in the last 2 years. But prior to that, I was doing them here with Relive,
Yeah,
and I was
maintenance.
doing them like quarterly, just like 10 million cells. was
Yeah.
it?
They're about 10 million, yeah.
About 10
Did,
million.
when you did the expanded, you did it both ways, right? You did IV and injection.
Yeah,
They did. Where did they do the injections? Like your knees?
my knees and my shoulder. Yeah,
Okay. And notice a difference?
for sure. Yeah. I
Yeah.
had serious knee pain, like almost arthritic knees, and I had a torn labrum that was torn for like 2 years. And after getting that done, I took a few months off, and like in the last 2 years of my career, my joints have felt the best. And like I've done a lot of different things. My training, you know, like I talk about eating, bringing down my inflammation, and on top of the stem cells. But I really believe it helped me a lot. And I used to have
agree.
the pitting edema come every now and then. Since doing the stem cells, especially when I was doing it quarterly at Relive, I had none of that.
None?
Like
I
my
remember-
inflammation
Wow.
was so low. I felt so much better. It was
I
crazy.
forget what year it was, but it was before you met Dr. Khan and you were doing the stem cell, and it was going up into the Olympia, and you were like, "This is the best I've ever felt."
Yeah.
Like I've never felt better. I have no issues, and I remember now that you say you had that like twitch where you would check your legs. I remember
Yeah.
when we would fly. That'd
Oh,
be
yeah.
like the first thing you would
Well, 'cause
do is
flying,
you would check
yeah.
your legs, and you were like, "I don't hold water when I fly anymore." So that's pretty cool.
It was crazy.
Did you
is
ever?
cool.
Would you fly with like long compression socks a lot?
I never did that.
No.
I did it once or twice.
Yeah.
But it didn't really seem to do much difference for me. I did find specifically to flying, if I didn't eat carbs, low sodium, and like drink crazy amounts of water, like I would try to drink like a liter of water for every hour I was in the air.
Yeah.
And it would just flush everything out of me. and
It's
I wouldn't
also
hold on to
like
water.
really feel like everyone should probably do that in a way. Like that helps with
Yeah.
anyone with inflammation.
I mean, I think most people shouldn't. If you're flying far, 0 carbs before or during the flight, you feel way better.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Because like, and then like humidity is so low in the air, and then the pressure. That's why you dehydrate so rapidly when you fly. That's why like a big thing is just like I tell people chug a liter of water before the plane takes off, and then drink a liter while you're flying, just so when you get off, you
I just
don't
hate
have
having to
bad
pee
water
every 5
retention.
seconds on the plane.
Yeah, I mean that's the annoying part, but
Yeah. Especially if we don't have a light in the bathroom.
Yeah, seriously.
Um,
But what was cool too, and I mean, I feel like you can answer this better to me because I didn't really dive into it, but especially thymosin alpha-1 and how it modulates your immune system. You said it gets your immune system ready. A lot of people sometimes have weird reactions to stem cells from their immune system. But
Yeah.
what Dr. Khan had me
We
do
know.
was a very specific, intense protocol about my immune system, peptides, for like 8 weeks leading up to getting the
Yeah.
stem cells so that my body was ready to receive and use them.
So you almost like
efficiently.
are suppressing your immune system in a way, especially you, because you have an autoimmune disease, to basically take those stem cells in.
I don't think it's suppressing.
It's
You're
not really
like-
suppressing. It's just like preparing your body for like the potential like exogenous cells.
But would it
coming
help
in.
to suppress your immune system before you get stem cells?
It would help you like not get like an overreaction,
or a rejection, right? Technically, because you could reject the cells.
Yeah, you could reject them too. Like Dr. Pat and I worked together to put together like a pre-stem cell plan. So like if you're getting stem cells, here's the plan to follow. It's got like thymosin alpha-1 in it, like BPC in it, things like that. So like you do this for 6 to 8 weeks before your treatment. That way you have that potential.
And that's like
to have
critical
better
because you see all
success.
these clinics that are doing stem cells and they're just throwing stem cell in the body on the day up. Oh, you're here, let's do it. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, like it may cost you a couple extra $1,000, but at least if you do this protocol properly, you're going to get
Yeah.
the best result from these stem cells.
Yep.
So I think that it's really important. A lot of people don't understand the quality of care and the process of doing that the right way.
Yeah. I mean, you could even go back to like GLP-1s. Like you got online websites that'll just like you fill out a questionnaire and
Yeah.
it's like we'll ship it right to your house.
I
No
do
blood
believe
work, no monitoring, nothing.
I do believe though there's going to be a shift in the consumer experience, and I think people want to feel like they want to go back into and talk to a doctor and feel like, I mean maybe I'm wrong, and I'm the most convenient person in the world. So like Amazon is the #1 place I shop because it's just easy for me. But like I also feel like when it comes to spending a lot of money taking care of your body, like people are probably more willing and would like to feel like a quality experience in an office with a doctor versus like a sketchy website that you don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And you're kind of seeing it. Like we're seeing a huge shift away. People that are coming into the clinics are, I used to get my stuff from this place, but the guy never calls me back. I've never talked to a doctor, and it's refreshing for me because I felt like that was always going to happen long term. And while everyone was building these telemedicine sites, I just kept building brick and mortar locations,
Yep.
and I doubled down on more and more locations in major cities because I knew eventually one day either the FDA was going to get involved, which they have started getting involved, the DEA was getting involved, which they have started getting involved, and the consumer experience, like walking into a beautiful facility, feeling like you're, not almost like a member of an exclusive club versus going to the doctor's office, and the concierge feeling you get when you can still text Dr. Pat, right? Like in our clinics, it's not like you don't have a telemedicine capability, but we do want to see you in person. We want to put a hand on you, we want to touch you, we want to do the comprehensive exam. That way we know what the fuck we're doing. But then ultimately after that, if they need something, they can text you and say, hey, my kid's sick, or hey, I need this, and you're like, no problem, I'll call it into the pharmacy for you. That's all encompassing. But I think just that experience is so important.
Yeah.
It's definitely different than traditional medicine. The opportunity we have to like reach people compared to the average medical office or the average primary care office. it's just a complete opposite. And we have a huge opportunity to like fine tune and really work with people in detail compared to just like the generic 3 to 5 minute appointment you get where nothing really gets done.
Yeah. Should we jump into the like therapeutic movement side of it now? Kind of going into like what you're doing on that side for recovery and prehab, rehab.
Sure.
All right, cool. Yeah, let's
Grab
bring
Dr. Phil.
Yeah, let's bring Dr. Phil in. Not the original Dr. Phil, not the Dr. Phil.
The Dr. Phil?
Yeah.
Testing.
What's up?
What's up, man?
How are you? You got to go all the way in, bro. Like,
Okay.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
weird.
right there's
Uncomfortable.
Hello, how
Yeah. All right. So I've known Dr. Scuderi for a while. I think I originally met you in what, like 2016?
When you were halfway done with Chiro school.
Yeah. So that was before.
Yeah.
So 8, 9, 10, 11, like
Yeah, close to
2014. 2014. And I reached out to Dr. Scuderi because he like was the fucking man when it came to like anything to do with prehab, rehab, physical therapy, chiropractic, all of it. And I wanted to do my like shadow him when I came back home. So I came down, I met you, and the first thing you told me was like, I forget how you phrased it, but it was like, man, he's like, you know, just in this business, no, you're trading your time for money. And I was like, fuck that. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, there's no way it's happening, you know? So I went back to school and totally changed my whole entire career path. And thank you for that, because that's why I am what I'm doing today.
Definitely worked out for you.
Yeah, it worked out for me. But I think now we're partners. We opened Raw Wellness Group together. And I'm a huge believer in everything we do there. I wish I could get there more often, honestly, because it's detrimental to my body when I don't go. But let's talk about like that.
Sure. So going back to when I met you, I had a full physical medicine practice back then, like very insurance-based. We had a physiatrist on staff. So obviously, years later, we've segued to more of a cash practice. We do some personal injury, but we have a lot more modalities now that help people like you guys that train and want to get back to what you're doing, quickly, red light therapy, shockwave therapy. So it's a different concept, but I love it, and especially having that the gym right next door as well.
Yeah. So in Delray, your company's called Basis Medical.
Yes.
And then you have one in Palm Beach Gardens as well, off North
right.
Lake. So those two are there, and then we have Stewart. We have Raw Wellness Group in Stewart.
Yes.
And your facility is gorgeous, like full gym, and then obviously the medical piece, and then you almost have like this like PT area in between, like a physical therapy area.
Yep.
And you're doing everything from dry needling and then with stim.
Yep.
Is there a specific name for that?
Just acupuncture or dry needling, and they put these little electric stimulators
and that
on.
For me is like, it works very, very well.
Yep.
Have you ever done that before?
No.
It's pretty wild.
I wanted to swing by while I'm down here.
You should.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
But and then everything you're doing stem cell out of there. You're doing pretty much all the same stuff we're doing at Relive. I would assume, right?
Regenerative therapies, regenerative medicine,
stem cell, all of that.
It all works really, really good together. And like Chris, you're a great example. Like, he's got 2 major injuries before his competitions, and he's able to rehab them while he's doing it and compete and still win.
Yeah. How
do you do that? Well, you're doing pre-rehab. I'm sorry. You're doing rehabilitation after injuries. You're also training differently with an intent not to just overload the muscle, but be smart about how you're doing things, stretching.
Yeah.
And then all the modalities, the physical therapy modalities, the regenerative therapies. It's a really amazing.
I don't know why it didn't click to me sooner, but like when we went to the game, right, and we were talking about Zion and how he always gets hurt, it's like he's just too big. Like he has too much weight to move the way he moves, or he's not obviously training the right way to move in that ability at the weight he's at. So I think like one of the cool things that I watched was I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but have you ever watched Patrick Mahomes' athletic trainer?
Oh yeah.
Have you seen what he does?
Yeah.
So do you not agree with it?
I think it looks cool.
No, I'm talking about like the forcing the load in like awkward positions.
Yeah, I just think the body doesn't know what an awkward position is. You could force the same load on the same thing without like.
Really?
I think it was a great commercial for that trainer that he happened to get hit.
I have to agree with Chris on
So you
that
think
one.
it doesn't work?
I don't think it works like
at
that.
all.
No.
Okay, so explain
it.
I would love to know what you
mean.
mean.
The way he trained.
I think like just the way it was like portrayed.
I'm not talking about like the
eye-catching.
specific, like relating to the specific injury. I'm just interested in knowing what your beliefs are on like forcing weird loads on awkward positions.
I mean, I feel like when you look at a muscle, like there's just at joints specifically, because every joint's range of motion changes, right? The more mobile a joint is, the easier it is to hurt it. And
so there's a negative effect to hypermobility.
There could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a point in a joint where it should kind of be where it is, and then anything over that is something you need to pay attention to, just as much as
something
it not
you need
moving.
to work on for a very, very long time to be able to take it to that position.
Okay.
Because some people like try to do this hypermobility stuff way too fast and they do it way too quickly, and that's where injuries come from.
They get injured.
Well, I feel like that technically, like an injury is that. It's
Yeah.
taking a joint to a place where it shouldn't be.
Yes.
Right?
Does Justin have you do a bunch of stuff like pre-training, post-training, like mobility routines or anything?
He's very reasonable.
Yeah.
He had like a lot of shit. I'm like, look, Justin, I'm not going to show up and prep and fucking do an hour workout before my 2 hour workout.
That's
He's
what
like,
I was
all
scared
right,
of.
all right, I got
Yeah.
you. He's like 10 minutes specific to the body
Yeah.
part. But right now, like all my training is like, it's not weird shit, but like I'll do like a deficit split lunge and hold it for like 90
Yeah.
seconds. You know,
Like
and it's
PNF stuff. Like,
because I have
yeah.
like I'm not used to loading my knee in that much of a or my quad in that much of a lengthened position, and my hip flexors are super tight, so I'm actually able to hold that and strengthen it, not under load, for 90 seconds to actually get it used to being there.
When you started doing that stuff, did you get sore?
A little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. It was no load, nothing,
Yeah.
which was pretty sad.
Yeah. It's like I did a reformer class on Sammy's like Pilates thing one day.
Yeah.
Bro,
Oh,
you
you're probably
so
wrecked.
hard.
smoked.
Yeah.
I couldn't even walk. And I was just holding things like
Yeah.
hold this for this long. You know, it's like muscles I've never knew existed in my body. And the next day I'm absolutely crippled. So I agree. Like, I think that, and I think honestly, like those are the things that we should be doing more of, right? Like those like holds and those movements, like that's like I always think of it like looking at a baby, like the ability for them to get their ass to the floor and squat so well.
Perfect.
And like, it's so it's like, it's inherently perfect.
What gets me the most with babies is just their posture. Like legs out on the ground. Bradley sits with her back perfectly like arch, just like that, and we'll hold it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't hold that for 5 seconds. And it's not because I'm weak, but it's because my hip flexors and my hamstrings
Yeah.
are so tight. So I'm forcing it into that where she's just loose.
Yeah.
So she just can just be there.
Yeah.
We're literally
it's
like
crazy.
destroying our bodies from, you know, the age of 1 on.
Yeah.
And it's so impressive to see like that's really how we should be moving so fluidly. I'm blown away by it.
What do you think is the best like prevention of injury? Is it properly training in a full range of motion? Is it just specific prehab stuff?
Sure. I think everybody's different, but you bring up a good point about Patrick Mahomes because, first off, at the end, you know, the playoffs time right here, everybody's injured. Like, don't
Yeah.
even kid yourself.
Well, I
Just
mean,
because-
they say sports is based off of who's the healthiest, right? At the end
There
of the
you go.
season, who's not on the injured reserve is
Yes.
who's gonna win the Super Bowl, basically,
Yeah.
or the the World Series.
Yeah. And the thing about Mahomes that I like is he's very like you, Chris, like pre-rehab and just training all the time, getting stretched, all the modalities. He's got all the stuff at home. He's got
Yeah.
all the people that work
Yeah,
on him.
yeah,
So, and he's a very unique guy because, as you know, he's so mobile. I mean, you know, you can't hit him sometimes, and he just gets rid of the ball.
Yeah.
But anyway, back, Chris, what you said is a hard answer because everybody's different. Everybody's, you know, bodies are different and whatnot. But just you know, being aware of the fact that you can't just train and not expect to be injured, and then if you get injured, just hoping it goes away versus actually addressing it is not a smart thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you all go through the phase when you're younger where you just feel like you're invincible, and you just like, you know, when we would show up to football practice and just play. You know, like
Sure.
there's no warming up. You're
Yeah.
not stretching. You did, but you did it half-assed because you didn't want to. Like cross your legs, bend over, touch your toes. Like no one was doing that shit. You know, everyone was just fucking around the whole time.
Yeah.
And then you go and you just play. But now looking back at it, it's like there's a purpose for all of that stuff. So if you don't have like a really good coach, or you know, a lot of these athletes that are super successful have their personal coaches from a very young age.
Right.
So it's almost like they can't get away from all that stuff. They're just forced to do every piece of it. And now looking back, it's like, fuck, man, I wish I would have done all that stuff, because now you look at all the things that are wrong with you.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know, I don't think I could be fully mobile and I'm in a much better place just from losing the weight that I lost and just being healthier. But like, there's still certain things that I think about, and I feel like it's going to take me years to fix those problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Dom, you've done an incredible transformation. I mean, you were
Yeah.
a bodybuilder and you transitioned to you're
Yeah.
a runner now, man.
Yeah.
That's your heart, the aerobic.
I feel
anaerobic.
great. I've never felt better, but I also
Yeah.
do know, like you see it, like I have a form issue with my
Your
right hip.
Yeah.
And there's certain things that like just bother me, you know,
Yeah,
and like
sure.
it's so awkward for me to like I'm conscious of knowing that that's happening, and when I try to fix it while I run, it's like so weird and uncomfortable for me that I
It's
just
like
You're not
unnatural.
gonna fix it in motion.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just so unnatural. And then I'll
yeah.
start compensating, and it's like it's worse for me to do that. So
You know what I found out like with running? I don't know, like if do you have a high arch, medium arch,
I
like
have
flat
no fucking
foot,
idea.
like on your foot?
I have no.
No.
I don't know.
So like I found that custom orthotics
Yeah.
help running a ton.
Yeah. I mean, I have no pain. Like the crazy part is like I have all these things, but I don't have any pain.
Yeah, it's just like a dull, weird feeling.
No, there's no feeling.
Oh, really?
I have no pain, no feeling. I just have a fucking foot that like points at this way when I'm running.
Which is why it's so cool to how good the body is at adapting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm being totally honest with you. My hips don't hurt. Nothing hurt. I mean, granted, when I first started running, everything hurt for a while, right? But that's just from doing something I've never done. But I can run 20 miles and I can be done and have no pain whatsoever. But I'll look at video of like if someone's filming me and my right foot is like at this angle while I run. And I do believe like I'm still one to say like I'm not warming up how I should. I'm not taking 40 minutes before my run because my run's 2 hours long. I don't want to spend 3 hours running, you know? But like even if I spend 15, 20 minutes putting a lacrosse ball in my hip, doing some like banded work to open up my glutes, all of that stuff makes a world of difference. It's like usually traditionally when I wake up and run, I don't stretch, I don't do anything. And I'll wake up, you know, it's still dark out and I just hit like a very low, slow 10-minute mile to warm up. And then from there, I'll pace myself to like a sub 7-minute mile as my last mile, right? If I warm up properly, I can rip a 7-minute mile from the second I start at my house and I'm good. No pain, no nothing. Whereas if I don't do that, it's like the first 3 miles are really like cringeworthy. And then like my legs and my hips open up and then I'm just gone. I don't even feel anything. I'm good to go.
One of our athletes at Raw helped me with that. Charlie Lawrence. He's like the world record holder for 50 mile. Yeah. He was like, dude, you can't just go rip it. He's like, you have to do activation for a little bit.
But the other thing about Charlie, that fucking kid's always hurt too.
Yeah, he is.
You know, like
See, my concern for you would be that one day you're gonna wake up and you're like, my left knee is fucked or my right knee is fucked. I don't no idea why. I didn't do anything to it. And then you'd be like, well, you've been running with a bow
no, I
leg
agree.
for
I totally
10
agree.
years,
Yeah,
you know?
and I do believe that that's an issue. And you know, when I think about it, I do believe that it stems from my hips because like when I'm getting worked on, I get manual therapy done twice a week. Usually I go once to Raw Wellness and then I have my massage therapist come to my house. But I'll tell you right now, like my pain point always, like when I'm being worked on, I don't feel it any other time, is all in my hips. My hip flexors, like when you go around like your back right here, like this way, like rotationally, like I could hit the ceiling. It's like all so tight right in that area. So I don't know if it's stemming from that or I don't know if it's just something that I've walked with an angled foot since I can remember, like since I was 10 years old, you know? So like, is it just, I have to unlearn how to do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you guys do a lot of red light stuff?
I do.
Decent amount.
Yeah, because you guys have the chairs at Raw Wellness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really neat.
I think like I don't know where, like what, I know there's so much contra whatever about the cold plunge as far as like when to do it, how to do it, optimal timing of training or after training, pre-training. I believe the research states that you're supposed to do it before you train. I do not do that. I usually like will train and then I'll hit my sauna right after and I'll just do like contrast therapy like twice or 3 times where I'll go from like the infrared sauna to my cold plunge for like 2 or 3 minutes and then back and forth. And honestly, the main reason I do that is because if I don't, I'll sweat for like 2 hours after I train.
Oh, you said that before.
Wow.
Yeah, like
your metabolism's cooking then.
Yeah, like I'll if I don't do that, if I don't end in the cold plunge, I will literally go take a shower and I will sweat through my whole outfit that I change into. So I kind of don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You do cold plunges a lot.
Yeah. It's funny. There's so much controversy now of it, especially with hypertrophy training.
Yeah.
But I literally have been doing that for like 8 years because I had no idea what it was for other than I had autoimmune, inflammation bad, cold, no inflammation. So I bought a deep freezer in Canada and I had a plug that would turn on and off every like 20 minutes. It would cycle like that and it would keep it at about like 35 degrees. Yeah. Wow. And I would just get in there and sit in there before like there was anything about it. I didn't know it was bad for hypertrophy or anything like that, but I just knew inflammation was bad for my autoimmune. Yeah, I mean, I did it all the time.
I agree with that. I like how I feel. I don't care if it doesn't work. I think it works for me, kind of thing. If it's placebo or not. I got the opportunity, and you talked to him too. But we did a shoot with Jason Tatum over the weekend, and I talked to his trainer, and he has like a totally different like idea of it. So he basically turns it up to like 55 degrees, and Tatum sits in it from the waist down for 20 minutes straight. And
it's not as cold.
It's not as cold, and he's in there for 20 minutes, and he does that like twice after practice. And he said that that's what works for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always different based off your goals. Yeah. You know, he has to be able to train and play 4 times a week sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I would say their schedule is crazy.
Hypertrophy is you want
just to
recover actually from the workout to grow, not be able to work out again the next day. The goal is to recover.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, I intentionally try and do it only in the morning if I'm training at night or on my rest days.
Okay.
If I'm trying to build muscle.
Got it.
But I think like in the CrossFit Games, they'll finish a workout and then they'll get right in there because they don't care about hypertrophy and building muscle. They just want to be recovered to be able to do that again in 2 hours or the next day.
Or the same day.
Yeah, same day
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
So they're doing it literally between like workouts same day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just
bring down that
in the moment,
inflammation
bring the inflammation down like temporarily, basically.
which is not great for you.
Yeah,
like,
but you gotta
if
do
did that
it.
for a week
Yeah,
straight,
yeah.
you'd hurt yourself.
Yeah.
But in 24, 48 hours, send it,
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's definitely an anti-inflammatory.
Well, there's no doubt.
is good
I mean,
for your body.
since before we were born, ice on an injury has been like the
gold
thing
standard.
to do. And it was in the first 24 hours, ice and heat. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, every emergency room in the world has taught us that for as long as we've been alive.
Yes.
This is just taking it to a grander scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like when you get an injury and you go through like the phases of healing, it starts as inflammation.
Well, you're also shuttling red blood cells, right? When you
Yeah.
heat the area up, that's kind of the goal
Yep.
of it. So,
Yes.
kind of makes sense.
And then you say you do a little stem cell stuff too?
You do some regenerative, everything from PRP, exosomes, and then the stem.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
work.
no, I think it's interesting to see. Like, I'm curious to see how the end of the year is for you.
a full
Like
year of not.
where you're at and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Me too. I'm curious to see what a full year
I
of
mean,
not bodybuilding does.
For your size, like you're so athletic at this point.
Yeah, I
like,
mean, you were jumping with
it's
that force
overly
plate, like-
impressive. Yeah.
I still have pretty good vertical. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, that was like super
I'm
impressive.
curious what I can do.
You could play basketball. There's a
He
possibility
dunked
of
at
that.
the Tatum shoot.
Dude, I
No,
saw him.
I can touch the rim, but
Same shit.
That's right.
it's a big
Yeah.
difference.
Okay. Whatever.
I would do a CrossFit like competition just for shits.
You
Like
got-
they have amateur ones sometimes.
yeah, they do.
You know?
Yeah.
But I got to learn all the movements.
You got to do all the Olympic lifts for that.
Yeah, I could cheat though.
Yeah.
I feel like the weight in the amateurs is like clean 135. I could just.
It's
curl
not that it's not that heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does running interest you at all?
Not long distance.
No.
Sprinting or like a fast mile.
Did you sprint too? I know Ian did.
Yeah, I wasn't nearly as fast as Ian. but
Yeah.
I did high jump, long jump,
Okay.
and then I did pentathlon as well. That was like very explosive, but anything over 400 meters was horrible for me.
400 meters, quarter mile, right?
That's a quarter mile.
Yeah.
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 One lap.
Yeah, one lap.
The 800 meter gassed me.
Yeah.
Or in the pentathlon I had
Yeah.
to do it, and that was like long distance for me with 800 meters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even as a kid.
Yeah.
Dom, I once did a thing. I'm not a runner. I don't like it. It's hard. But like when you run on the street, you have the street lights.
Yeah.
So you walk from one street light to another,
Yeah.
and then you do a full sprint to the
Yeah.
next one, and it creates like a cardiovascular, like an anaerobic. Like
Yeah.
Your heart rate goes up.
Yeah.
It stays up because by
Yeah.
the time you rest, you're sprinting.
Yeah.
I like.
Well, that's kind of like,
I like that stuff.
we're doing like that high rock style workouts now, and that's ultimately what those are. Like
Yeah.
I've changed it to do like miles instead of half miles because I just want to get more miles in a day. But like ultimately, like this morning, our workout was we did a mile warm up, and I try to keep it rather quick, like under a 7-minute or at least under a 7:30-minute mile. So like first mile 7:30, come back in, and then it's like a circulation of 15 calories on the rower, 15 calories on the skier, 20 wall balls, 20 push-ups, and you do that 4 times, and then in between you're running again. So you run another mile, come back, and then from there we did sled pushes, farmer's carries, and lunges, and then ran another mile, came back, and then we did a circuit all together though 4 times, no break, which was like 20 kettlebell swings, 20 goblet squats, and then 20 sit-ups.
Yeah.
So like,
Wow.
and then the run is ultimately the recover, right? Like
Right.
in high
In
rocks,
competition, your run
is
your
where you make up the
recovery
most
time.
It's where you recover because your heart rate's like literally pinged at like a 180
Yeah.
170 when you're doing
How many
that.
calories are you burning on that full session? Of
I burned like
everything you
1,300 calories in
right.
that session.
Wow,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And I finish it in like an hour and 11 minutes. So like,
Yeah.
but that session, the crazy part about high rocks is the run is where you make up the most time because you really can't do those other things that much faster, right? Like wall balls, skiing, rowing. There's a point where like your body physically is incapable of pulling harder and like
Sure.
the machine just can't handle it. So like what you're doing is you're making up all that time in the run. So you're starting to see people get like sub 5-minute mile average runs now,
Whoa.
which is crazy because that's really where you recover. So it's all about really being able to sustain an elevated heart rate and work.
That's the game there.
and
That's what I'm
being
learning
able
with
to
it.
work because
Yeah.
like you were
Pass it
talking
to
with
handle
Chadrick,
stress.
it's like there's a point where like you pass it and it could be 2 beats per minute, But like once you fucking hit that, you're cooked.
Yeah.
Like cooked. Like there's no coming back. You hit it, you're done. You might as well quit the whole workout. And it's literally that close. It could be 3-4 beats per minute, and knowing where your threshold is and staying under your threshold is ultimately how you're successful in the sport.
It's been the art of CrossFit forever.
Yeah.
That's why Matt Frazier was such a beast.
Yeah.
Could hold like a 190 heart rate, and he knew he could just feel it.
He knew it.
Yeah.
In his mind, he's like, I'm at 190 right now. If I go a little bit faster from 191, I'm toast. I'm gonna hold this, and he just destroy everyone.
Yeah. It's a game of art.
I'm competing in May
In Vegas,
New
right?
York.
New York.
High Rocks?
Yeah, yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Great.
Damn.
It'll be fun.
That's I think Ross asked me to do that one with him, like the
How
doubles
many
one.
people
Yeah.
do that? There must be thousands.
Dude,
of
it's
people
3.
there.
So last year New York was just a 2-day. Like they have races 2 days. This year it's 3 days, and they're already sold out of tickets.
Wow.
Which I bought extra ones because I was
Did
like,
you?
maybe Matt and Dom want
I'll
to
do
do this.
it. I'll do it. I don't give a shit. Why not?
Do it.
So
It's fun.
High Rocks is cool. It's new. It's from Germany originally, and now it's making its way into like America. It's 8 stations and then a kilometer run in between each.
Okay.
So that's why like that run is like I coach people for it now, and I tell people like this is where you need to just slow down. You could slow down here, or you could speed up here, just depending on your heart rate. Because everyone's weaker or stronger at certain stations.
Yeah.
So you kind of just have to learn.
I would say like I get crushed between the rower and the skier.
It's like those are my strongest ones.
Yeah, like if I do those back to back, because that's kind of how I have my circuit set up right now. My heart rate's like $180 after those.
Like
two.
wall balls cook me.
I love wall balls.
They murk me.
Yeah, I can do wall balls. What's the weight for the competition?
6 kilos, so like 14 pounds.
Oh, you used 20.
that dude, we use 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's good that you heavier. Just
Yeah, we tell people like I tell guys to train
with
heavier.
20. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you could do this stuff with heavy, like even your farmer's carry,
Yeah, we did 70 pound, 140 pound on farmer's carry.
so 70 each hand.
Each hand, yeah.
Yeah, dude, the competition for guys is 24 kilos.
Yeah, that's what we do that every day.
Yeah.
The sled, I don't know, because I have that like torque sled. I
You have
just
a
put it
push
to the
sled?
highest one and go.
Yeah. The sled's like 150 kilo. That's including sled weight though.
Yeah.
So like what is that? Like 340, 350 pound?
I would feel like that's probably close to what that thing is.
Because that thing like builds
Yeah.
energy as you push it, and then when
It's
you push it
hard.
the other
Yeah,
way,
yeah, yeah.
all you're pushing
Yeah.
against it all.
Sucks.
That's
Yeah.
the one I use.
Miserable.
It builds energy?
Yeah. It like
Really?
it like builds up torque, and then when you like switch to the other side and start pushing it,
It's harder.
You'll notice it's easier on one side and it's harder on the other side.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
thought it was just because there's a resistance on each wheel. And
No,
Dom
you-
one time only had 3 on one on the front wheel. So when you push, you're pushing down onto that front wheel, and then the other side was on a 1. So when you're pushing onto that wheel, it's easier.
I put both mine up now to
Yeah.
the highest.
The first time
The
it
first
wasn't,
time we
though.
fucked that up
Yeah.
because we thought we weren't supposed to. Yeah.
And I think you were pushing it one way, I was bringing it back
Yeah.
the other way. This is easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, weight on those things help a lot.
If you put weight in the middle?
skier, rower, no, being heavy.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Especially
yeah.
the skier and stuff,
Yeah.
because it's just your body weight.
Yeah,
pulling
the
it.
skier is an art. Like being able to know how to, and you
Ski-
sent me some videos
Yeah.
on the rower, but like that's why Eddie Hall has the world record for
yeah.
the skier.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's like built like a fucking
400
refrigerator.
pounds just
Eddie Hall does?
Yeah.
Or Steve Hall.
no Eddie Hall, the strongman. I'm pretty
Really?
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
it's
there's
like-
another
it's
guy,
15
Steve
calorie.
Hall, who's also really, really good at
Yeah,
this.
no,
So
Eddie-
ironically, both
I
of their
haven't
last
seen it.
names
We
are
were
Hall.
told this, so
Yeah,
maybe we
who
were
t-
told.
I think
Ross.
Ross told us this.
But it was
We
a
could be-
15
it could-
calorie
could be wrong.
only. So it wasn't endurance. It was just probably took him fucking 6
one
seconds. to
one
do that.
swipe,
Oh, that's
50
crazy.
cows. Yeah. Crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Just rip the thing in half.
All right. I think it was
All
a
right.
good one.
Yeah, that was
We
great.
nailed that.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Dom.
Of course.
Thank you, Doc.
Thanks, guys.
It was nice meeting you.
too.
It was great talking to you guys. And tune in on the next episode, and we will see you guys next time.
Love it.
Thank you for watching. This podcast is intended for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or any other professional healthcare services, including the provision of medical advice. Listening to this podcast does not establish doctor-patient relationship. Any use of the information provided on this podcast or materials linked from it is entirely at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should never disregard or delay seeking medical advice for any health concern they may have and are encouraged to consult with their healthcare professional for guidance and care.